Hey guys, it's Dasha. Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to September's round of A Game of Tomes and Becca's Bookoplathon and my TBR for the Magical Readathon, because apparently I like pain. So if you're new here, hi, I'm Dasha and this is my monthly TBR game. I have a whole playlist linked down below where I have the first video which goes over the whole board, the cards, and the instructions. But essentially I roll the dice, I move across the board each month, and I pick what I'm reading. This is a completely original TBR game and I am like super hella proud of it. So if you're new, go watch that playlist. But if you know how this works, then it'll be all the more fun for you because I am combining it this month with Becca's Bookoplathon. So if you don't know what this is, I'll link Becca's announcement video down below, but essentially Becca kind of started the TBR game trend. I love her and her channel so much, and she started a readathon based on her Becca's Bookopoly. So I participated last year, had a ton of fun, and really want to do it again this year. So I thought that basically I would try to match up my rolls as best as I can. So I'm going to do 5 rolls on my regular board. I'm going to do 5 planned rolls on here and see how this goes. And then at the end, I'm going to go over my TBR for the Magical Readathon, which I will also hopefully do in September. If you have not seen G's announcement video, it will also be linked down below. It is basically a reiteration of what used to be a Harry Potter themed readathon, but G decided to move in a different direction. She created her own like whole new world this year with a story and a whole like storyline and arc. So it's super impressive. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, absolutely. But yeah, I'm planning to do 2 readathons and trying to get all my books in here. And if that's not enough, the Breath of the Wildathon announced that it will be happening starting in September, but it's starting September 20th going into October. So I'm not even gonna worry about that now, but I do still want to participate. So this is undoubtedly gonna get super chaotic, so prepare yourselves for that. But before that begins, we gotta find out how I did in August. So this plus 2 books was my stack. We had Hotel Scarface, which was for the character card Olena. The prompt was to read a book nobody talks about, and I DNF'd that book. I then have Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch, which was for the prompt to read a book with a foiled or gilded cover. I actually did not even start this book yet. I then have Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, which was for the prompt Jon Snow to read an anticipated book. I have started this. I might finish it before the end of the month, but I'm gonna consider it like started and pretty much finished. I had Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. That was for Marjorie's prompt, which is to read a popular or hyped book. I am either going to finish it by the end of the month or I'm DNFing it. I still have not decided at the time of filming this, but regardless, we're gonna count that one as done. And finally, we have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. This was for the prompt House Lannister, which is just to read any thriller, mystery, or horror. So this month's TBR was a failure, which means I'm gonna have to do a punishment. So the only rule I had not decided on prior to, starting to actually play my game was what the punishment was gonna be, and now I have settled on it. I am going to pull a Raven card for every single book that I do not finish in a month. If you don't know, Raven cards are kind of my more negative prompts, but I'm not going to roll for this. I'm just going to pick it and add that book onto my TBR. So we're already starting September with 6 books on my TBR. So let's get into the punishment prompt for A Game of Tomes. All right, so we're gonna start off with our punishment, which is our Raven card. Oh, okay, pick a battle card. Go right into one of those. Oh yeah, we got a good one. Friend picks a book they love, and depending on how I feel about it, the following month's TBR, I move up, back, or stay put. So our Raven card made us pick a battle card, which was honestly not the worst thing that could have happened, and we got a friend picks a book they love. So I obviously asked Ray, who's one of my best booktube friends, if she had anything that she absolutely loved that she wanted me to read. Now, before I asked her, I had an inkling there might have been a few answers, and she picked the one I was kind of thinking she would. She picked Ray Bearer by Jordan A. Fuego for me to read. She loved it. She raved about it. She got the ARC as well for the second book before it was released, and she went out and bought both of them anyways. I believe she has a review on her channel, so I will link that down below. All I know about this is that it is a young adult fantasy, and it follows some kind of magical competition, perhaps. I'm not sure, but I think that young adult is gonna be a great idea this month because it's gonna be a little bit a little bit shorter and easier to get through because I have a feeling this is gonna be chaos. Okay, rule number 1 for September. 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, a character card. We got Sir Gregor Clegane. No other knight in the realm inspires such terror in our enemies. Read a book with bone or blood in the title or on the cover. All right, so our actual first roll got us a character card. We got Sir Gregor, and so this is bone or blood in the title or on the cover. And this was harder than I thought it would be. I picked this prompt to like put on my cards because I thought it would be fairly simple. But I ended up settling on Bad Blood by John Carreyrou. This is a nonfiction about Theranos. So if you don't know what Theranos is, this woman essentially started a company that was supposed to produce this like world-changing scientific results. It was like supposed to advance the medical field exponentially, all this like crazy promises, and then it was found that it was just the whole company was a fraud. She was a fraud. It was a complete disaster. She is facing jail charges, or she is in jail currently, and it was just a complete mess. And I kind of love that because the woman, I can't remember her name right now, but anyways, the founder of this company, Theranos, she was kind of this like very girl boss character, and I can't stand those kind of people. She was very much like, well, we need women in the medical field, and everyone's just like, bro, you just gave us all a very bad name by pulling this kind of dog shit. So anyways, I'm really interested to get this one. Obviously, Bad Blood has blood in the title, so it fulfills the prompt. And of course, I want to get a little bit of nonfiction in here. Duh. Rule number 2 for September. 1. We get another Raven card. What do we got? Read a book with an ugly cover. Okay. All right, so the next one was another Raven card, but this one was kind of a bit more ambiguous. It's Read a book with an ugly cover. So I picked Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. This is the second book in the series of kind of companion novellas called The Wayward Children, and it follows a bunch of kids who at some point or another in their lives went through these like magical trapdoors or like hidey holes and went into these fantasy worlds. So when they come back to the real world, they don't really know how to react to real life and being out of this world. So a lot of them end up at Eleanor West's home for wayward children, and she kind of just takes care of them and kind of goes through therapy with them to make sure that they can handle being reintroduced into the real world. And so the second book follows twins that we're introduced to in the first book. These books are all super short, so again, perfect for readathons. I'm not like super hyped about continuing this series. It's not like my favorite thing ever, but I did enjoy the first book a lot more than I thought I would because it had this kind of murder mystery element to it that I quite enjoyed. I think this cover is absolutely hideous. I hate it with everything I have, and I might not even continue buying the books, to be honest, because the first one I'd found in a thrift store, so obviously I didn't pay full price for it, but these are 26 Canadian dollars. For not even like full-length books because they're hardcover. It just makes me angry like how expensive they are, so I refuse to buy them, but I'm gonna be able to get access to it through my library and through Scrib, so that's good to go, and it fills the prompt. Roll number 3, 2. So that would be 1, 2, which end and start are both the same one space, so we're gonna have to roll again. But that does mean I get a book haul. Roll number 3, take 2. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sir Jamie, there are no men like me, there is only me. Read a book featuring a morally gray character. All right, so next we got our beloved and controversial Sir Jamie Lannister. And when I thought about morally gray characters, there actually weren't that many that came to mind. I thought really continuing series would be the best bet here. So this is gonna be a carryover from last month, Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch. Locke Lamora is a very controversial and morally gray character, I would call him. He is a thief, but he has these moments where he really cares for other people, And despite the fact that he steals from people and has no qualms about killing people, he also wants to avoid killing. You'd understand what I mean if you had read the first book, which you should, because I love it. The Lies of Locke Lamore is a banger of a book. But yeah, Locke is a bit of a kind of controversial, very morally gray character. You don't really know where he stands at all times, and he seems to live in this kind of gray area. So I am, as I said last month, I think really excited to continue the series. I just got in a little bit of a life slump, so I didn't pick this book up, but I was really hoping to, and I'd love to continue the series, honestly, because I just absolutely love these characters. Rule number 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got my friggin' hair everywhere. House Tully, which is our jar. Hopefully it's something that gives me a little bit of choice. Let's do this one. Yep. Okay, well that says new release. I just folded it like an idiot. There you go, new release. All right, roll number 4 got us to a House Tully space, and I pulled a new release from here. And I'm gonna consider Black Sun a new release for this. It is still a fairly recent release. I haven't really gotten any other ones. And this is by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is actually a gift from Robin. Robin, I fucking love you. This book is absolutely beautiful, and ever since it arrived in the mail a little while ago, I've been just dying to abandon everything and just read it right away. So I'm glad I was able to fit it on my TBR. This is also on my 5-star predictions list. If you have not seen that, do go check it out. I've read a lot of these books at this point, so I guess it's also like an anticipated TBR list, but I have a feeling I'm gonna love this. It features a lot of mythology and gods, and it is pre-Columbian mythology if I'm not mistaken. And I did get an arc of this on NetGalley before it came out, but I didn't quite get around to reading it. I just remember the first chapter being super crazy, very intense and dark, but I was absolutely sold, so I'm very curious to see where the whole story goes. I know that the sequel is coming out later this year, I believe, so if I do manage to read it this month, I'm in good shape for the sequel, which would be great because I am terrible with series. I'm just so excited for this one. I'm obsessed with this cover. I'm obsessed with the idea of it. I'm looking forward to it so much. And our final roll for September for A Game of Tomes. 3. 1, 2, 3. Location card. We've got the Tower of the Hand. Read a thrifted book. And finally, for A Game of Tomes, I got a location card, and we got read a thrifted book for the Tower of the Hand prompt. So location cards mean that they have to be books on my own TBR. So obviously thrifted book, I would thrift only physical books. But I picked the sequel to The Killing Moon. I picked The Shadowed Sun by N.K. Jemisin, the second book in the Dreamblood duology. This is an ancient Egyptian-inspired fantasy set in the city where the magic is linked to dreams. It is incredible. The first book made me laugh and almost cry and just fall in love with everything about this world. N.K. Jemisin's writing style really changes from series to series, and I think in this series it is my favorite. I just really like the tone in this. I loved the world building and the characters, and the magic system that is linked to religion is just astounding. I love it so much. The first book in this duology is absolutely still one of my favorite books of the year, if not one of my favorite fantasy books of all time. I think it's just absolutely incredible, and this was a thrifted copy. It's not in the best shape, but I got it for $5, so I will not complain because I got 2 books for the price of 1. Less than the price of 1. And yeah, that is it for the Game of Tomes TBR. Now let's see what happens with Bookoplathon. So here we have my little handmade board in my reading journal for Becca's Bookoplathon. So I'm gonna do 5 rolls as well. There's a chance we're gonna get doubles. I don't know how this is gonna go, but I really want to participate. So let's see what we get. I've got my double dice. I'm starting on the go. And if you notice, I only have chance cards here because instead of writing down my own prompts on cards for the community shelf, I'm just going to be using my jar because it's already full of different prompts. So I think that is a good way to do this. So let's go with roll number 1 for Bookoplathon. We start with a double 4, 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gods.
So the first roll was the prompt gods. Gods have to be featured quite prominently in whatever book I pick. So I think a very obvious choice is The Shadowed Sun by N.K. Jemisin. I just explained what it was about, but religion is a huge part of the magic system in the world, and the gods are very much present in the just everyday discussion. The main city in this is the city of the main goddess. It is just a very omnipresent thing in this world. So I think this fulfills that prompt pretty well. While the gods themselves are not characters, it is featured extremely heavily and prominently in here.
Right, that means we are adding a roll. Roll number 2, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a new release or just new. I'll need to check if this is new author or new release, but yes, here we go on the new space.
So our next roll got us the space that said new. I looked it up and it basically means either a new release you haven't gotten around to or a new release that got a lot of hype, that kind of thing. Now I could just put Black Sun because I used it for new in my TBR game, but it does come up later, spoiler alert. So I think I'm gonna fit Raybearer in for this. I know the sequel's coming out. Raybearer is still a fairly new book, so I think it kind of counts for this category, either from the beginning of this year or like end of last year. So I'm counting it as new. I think it fits this prompt.
Roll number 3. That is a 3. 1, 2, 3. History. Should be pretty easy.
Our next roll got us the history space, and I'm gonna go with The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is an adult fantasy set in, I believe it is 18th century Cairo, or maybe 19th century Cairo, and you're following a woman who is a kind of fortune teller, but she's a little bit of a con artist. But one day she discovers that there is a whole other Cairo that is the land of the jinn, basically. It kind of blows her world wide open. I'm going to be buddy reading this with Ray in September. We are both looking forward to it very, very much. And since this is a kind of historical fantasy setting, I think this goes perfectly for this prompt.
Roll number 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A chance card. Uh-oh. What do we got? Black Sun! Oh my god. Fuck yeah.
So as you just saw, we pulled a chance card which gave us Black Sun, which is why I said there is no point putting it for new because it's gonna come up later. See how this all works together? I spent so long trying to figure my TBR out. It's like embarrassing.
All right, roll number 5, 3, 1, 2, 3. The buzzword, a time of day.
All right, so our next prompt was a time of the day buzzword. So day, night, twilight, dusk, dawn, all that kind of stuff. So I picked Emma in the Night by, oh shit, I don't know who that's by. Wendy Walker, there we go. All right, I picked Emma in the Night by Wendy Walker. So this is a thriller mystery. There is a daughter who disappears once, or maybe both of them disappear and one comes back and the other one comes back like years and years later, and you're trying to figure out what happened. This one got a lot of buzz, but a lot of mixed reviews at the same time. Like, it's definitely lost a little bit of popularity, but I have it on audiobook, so I thought that'd be a great one to slip in there. I love thrillers on audiobook. And Emma in the Night. Night is a time of day, so it works for this prompt.
And what is hopefully our final roll? Roll number 6, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. LGBTQ plus rep.
And the final Bookoplathon prompt, because of course we had 6 friggin' rolls, was LGBTQ plus rep. So I'm gonna go with Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna Maguire. She always writes a ton of LGBT rep into her books, and I believe that the main characters do identify as LGBT or are considered LGBT. I'm not sure because I haven't read it yet, but I'm gonna go with the assumption based on how many LGBT characters were in her first book that it's also gonna be very similar in terms of those themes and explorations. So the stack isn't looking too crazy for Bookoplathon and Game of Tomes, but that's because a lot of these books I do not own. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. So this plus Raybearer plus Bad Blood plus Down Among the Sticks and Bones is my Game of Tomes TBR, and these two do find themselves on the Bookoplathon TBR, as well as Down Among the Sticks and Bones, Emma in the Night, and City of Brass and Raybearer. But wait, what's that I hear you say? I did mention the Magical Readathon, so I'm gonna very quickly go over my TBR and how I managed to squeeze some of these in. Don't know if they all work. I tried. I would really like to complete both readathons this month, but like realistically, it's a lot. So the first prompt for the Magical Readathon, the Novice Path entrance, is to read a book with a map, so I picked Raybearer for this prompt. The next book is the Ashtorn Tree, which is your priority TBR read, so I went with the Shadowed Sun because I've been dying to read it ever since I read the first book back in January, so I'm counting that. Next is the Mist of Solitude, which is to read a standalone, so I'm gonna do Bad Blood for this prompt. So next we have The Ruin of Sky, which is to read a book with supernatural elements, or I think like ghosts or haunted houses. So I have two options for this depending on what I'm in the mood for. We have Ring by Koji Suzuki. If you've seen the movie, this is what the movie was based on. It's basically a videotape that's been passed around. If you watch the tape, it informs you that you have 7 days until you die, and you're following an investigator that's kind of looking into this tape. So obviously there's that paranormal element. And we also have Empire of Wild by Sherry Dimlian. This is a Rougarou story. It is inspired by Métis lore and mythology. A Rougarou is kind of a man that is not quite a man, if I understand correctly, and you're following a woman whose husband disappeared, and she finds him one day, and she is convinced that it's him, but he is convincing her that it's not him, and somewhere in between some very supernatural things start happening. They're both really short, so I don't know which one I'm gonna pick, just depends what I'm kind of in the mood for at the time, but I'm putting both of these tentatively on my TBR because in theory I could also read both of them. We then have the Obsidian Falls, and the prompt for this is to read a thriller or mystery, so of course I'm gonna go with Emma in the Night for this one. We then have the Tower of Rumination, and the prompt for this is to read a 5-star prediction, so of course Black Sun counts for this one. And finally we have the Aurelium Academy arc, which is to read a book with a school setting. So if I am not mistaken, Down Among the Sticks and Bones does not feature school setting, even though it is children from Eleanor West's Home for Wayward Children. If it does have a school setting when I read it, I'm just gonna go with that. But if not, again, two options. We have A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, which is a fantasy set in a magical school. And then I also have Bunny by Mona Awad, and this is a kind of dark academia, witchy sorority type story, also set in a school. So either one of these two could work for that if Down Among the Sticks and Bones does not. Because I'm not 100% sure, and I didn't want to look up spoilers necessarily online, so we'll see about that one. I mean, honestly, the stack still isn't even that scary considering I've added a few things, but I'm sure once I get into it, there are quite a few fantasies on here and a few things that might be a little bit denser. So I'm a little nervous, but really excited because there's a lot of really exciting books on this month's TBR. Let me know if you guys are participating in any of the readathons and what your TBRs are. If you have videos, absolutely link them down below. Please, I love watching how chaotic Bookoplathon especially gets. If you have read any of these, do let me know, especially if maybe there's some tropes that I got a little bit wrong. Absolutely will be open to hearing that. My social media is also linked down below. You guys can always come talk to me there. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!